rum zipty, lum qasty mahavixly, woo guilty hazy rum zipty, lum qas diva mahavixly, woo guilty hazy rum zipty. There's been a lot of talk about Buddhism as a vehicle for insight roles. And certainly, Buddhism is a path that's full of physical and mental training. It's a path of denying both the grandiose titles and identities for oneself, but also of authority and path and all of that. Neither liberal, neither conservative. In the face of klesa, or klesa, the defilement, the poison, the affliction that breaks the control, or clarity, we run into the ideas of the demons and the harsh sights and stuff as tests that we go through, something that teaches us something. Klesa is placed into one's worldview, and it can be independent of a being or a thing, or it could even be such at the single time at once. It works with the law of revulsion. We need to learn to be equiposed in pleasure and pain. Buddhism in general focuses on the quality versus the essence, and certainly in the idea of evil, that is also the case, because evil is a choice. Immorality is a choice. The illusion and delusion, they are choices. And they are dealt with through thoughts, actions, force, results. Let's not moralize karma here. We're going into the immoral dimension a little bit. And for kulaso versus akulasa, we get back a control versus a, stuff that has control over us. And we form a separation from the social, because it's not about the order. As much as mainstream Buddhism, particularly the saint and the Mahayana Buddhism, we end up with this thing where people are seeking refuge with the teacher and the teachings and all that stuff, and we can take or leave what we want, right? And speaking of 12-step systems, the pratitya samutpada, the having independent arising. Now there's the talk about the vipassana, which in a way, this is what this room in particular is for. You take 10 days and you drop off your secular life. You drop off your responding to what you normally have to do. You sit and meditate during your waking hours, and everything is, put in that context. Now, it can start with the night between dusk and dawn, after whatever ritual or meeting, and then, just staying in except for your needs, to extending, 10, 11 days or something like that. But of the 12 steps to deal with the dependent arising aspect, the you could say it's a dark awakening, because you're stripping off all that stuff that you're not, all that stuff that you go through. Maybe you have to operate these modes, but there's the avidya, or avidya, using the Sanskrit. Secondly, so what is ignorance? The sankara, or the samskara, the fabrications, the vinklana, or vijnana, the senses, the consciousness. You have the 6 types, the mind, sight, sound, smell, touch, taste. The namarupa, the form. The salayatana, or shadayatana, the perception organs. The phasa, or sparsa, which is contact. We have the vedana, the senses. We have the tanha, or the trishna, which is the craving. We have the upadana, which is attachment. We have bhava, the continuing or becoming, because ultimately when we talk about becoming, it's a way of speaking, but it's not really what we are. The jati, the start of things, or its birth. The jara, marana, the ending or aging. So, particularly when you get older in years, you don't want to fall for this stuff. Oh, I'm like an old person, I'm, doing this and all that, And as I've said before, demons and demonology, their realms, are central in a way, but in an delusion sort of way. So Maya and Moha. And they're beings of powers to work with, or to work upon, to have the effect of a confrontation. We're going to have our own temptations in life, as we can say that, but there's the use of the tulpa, the thought forms, and the other sympathetic magic. And the demons are definitely things that can work with that. We have the diligence and lessons that can come from that. Rituals are done, but rituals are done in a sort of detached way. It's not that you're worrying about things, or that you're going to feel guilty about that, or the guilt, shame, and fear of all that is, you're supposed to let go. Now, of the noble truths, as people can say, there's the dukkha, or dukkha, and I'm using the Pali as the second thing here, and that's discontent, unsteadiness, or a hole of difficulty. And that can connect to the doctrines of nirvana, or nibbana, which is blown out. Again, you don't want to get stuck on the reactionary. That's where over-moralism comes from. There's the anatta, the non-self. Because people are always putting, more than ever, people are using identity politics. It's like, use them. There are modes for us to go through, but they're not the thing. And there's anicca, the impermanence. Because You look at everything, everything is changing, even the parts of what we call ourselves. And there's this samsara, the wandering in the six realms. So the heavenly, the angelic, the light beings, the human, the animal, the hungry ghost, and the hell. So one of the things that in some of the Buddhist stories is he's asked, are you this? It's like, no, one's not any of these things. One's not a god, one's not an angel. The human thing, that's just the vessel. The animal aspect, the lower spirit or something, the hell realms, this is all just temporary vehicles that we go through, realms that we go through. There's ultimately an emptiness, the sunyata, because all things are beyond, sort of the opposite of the plerose of the Gnostics. Here's a focus on the emptiness. So I know people use black pill like it's an insult or something like this, but really this is, the giving up on all these things, but not in a defeat. It's in sort of a continued sort of way. There's the singleness, anamita. So you want to unite the aspects instead of thinking so much that you're all these different parts and here, here, and here. You want to be able to work them together. The wishlessness, aprahihita, and so there's different interpretations of all these things, and it's beyond experiencing. It's beyond techniques. Certainly it's not just meditation techniques. Martial arts come from Buddhism, and among the Buddhist teachings, you just don't find discipline and correction. You have what would be considered abuse, both of yourself and of others. There's more next to Christianity and what they call Hinduism. Buddhism has the next most religiously, spiritually motivated level of killing and oppression and stuff like this. So it's not the fluffy thing people try to present it as, right? So we have enlightenment that we're trying to have, but it's not, again, it's not just a rank that we go around bragging to people. And it's a continuance in life. Whatever you've accomplished in any field, you still exist, do more. You have the nirodha, the cessation, and you have the marga, which is the path, and the samudaya. So dukkha, samudaya, nirodha, marga are said to be those four truths. People talk about the eightfold yoga and all that other stuff. And austerity, it can be as a punishment. It's not necessarily as a punishment. And ask questions. I'm starting to ramble a bit here. We have the shunya, which is another type of emptiness for us to deal with. And the path itself is not about confirming or denying. Okay, one thing that people talk about, right, is they talk about seeing the higher self in another. They talk about having a trainer. They talk about how the wisdom or beliefs or whatever you want to call it are put into action, and then that's where one wants to be. It's a real world thing. One doesn't have to be a renounced monk and all that. I'm thinking of the thing that you do a ritual and it changes the state of another. It brings it into you, or it casts it out of you and puts it into another. I'm not quite remembering that. Positive Mahavixli will kill the Haziram Zipti. Positive Mahavixli will kill the Haziram Zipti. Positive Mahavixli will kill the Haziram Zipti.